Chris, from your recent experience that you shared with me, you are on this amazing high in this place where you have planted the seeds of self love for the last several years and you are in full bloom. And I would love for you to share that with the audience.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. It's been a journey, of course, and it's always a journey in life, but I feel like I've reached a stage in that journey that feels really profound and really grounded and rooted. And what I mean by that is that it feels like it's here to stay. It does not, I feel like I'm not going to be going backwards from this. I'm just going to be continuing to move forward from it. And my self-love journey started in my mid 20s when I was moving through some extremely challenging periods of depression, and I was in therapy. And my therapist at the time asked that one of those perfect questions that a good therapist will ask. And he said to me, well, Chris, this inner dialogue you have going on within you, what if you switch that around to you talking to your best friend or a loved one who you care the most about? In other words, when I'm interacting with myself and when I'm relating to myself, am I doing it as if I'm my own best friend, or am I doing it as if I'm my own worst enemy? And I think at that time, I was definitely doing it as I am my own worst enemy. And my self-talk was horrendous. It was extraordinarily abusive. If because once again, my therapist was great at switching the perspective. He's like, would you speak this way? The way you speak to yourself now, would you speak that way to anyone that you care about? And the immediate answer was no. I wouldn't go to my niece and be like, you effing idiot, what's wrong with you? I wouldn't go to my grandmother and just be like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What's like, how could you possibly get that wrong? You're terrible. Or like, but this is the inner dialogue that I was having for myself for anything, whether it was being late for a work opportunity, or just missing something, in a social context. It doesn't matter. In a relationship, whatever the situation, the inner dialogue was atrocious. It was abusive, not a good situation. So I knew something had to shift. And when my therapist asked that question, like, could you treat yourself as your own best friend? Could you treat yourself as your grandmother, as your niece, as your nephew, as the person that you would have the most respect and love for? Why can't you do that for yourself? And I swear that question and that journey has taken me since I was about 25 at the time, and I'm 34 now. So that's almost, just under 10 years. Like that's a 9-year journey right there. Does it have to take that long? No, of course not. But that's been my personal journey with it. And just last week, I was in a form of meditation and was doing a couple of exercises that were profoundly centered around my own self-love and just kind of taking it to a new level. And after these sort of meditations, in a sense, that I was doing within myself, I came out of them with this sense of, we all can have experience profound moments of love for ourselves, even when we're moving through very challenging times with our relationship with ourselves. And I've had lots of those in those 9 years, but they don't really last. They maybe last like a day, a week, maybe a month if I'm really fortunate. But then it just like goes back, and then and the cycle continues and evolves, but also continues. And this time around, I truly do feel like a major shift has happened where I don't feel like I'm going back. And one of the main feelings that has come out of this is that I don't just have love for myself. It's going to sound weird, but I'm in love with myself. I have come to a new place of understanding and compassion and unconditional love for myself, in the way that it is. I was sharing with our self mastery group that Lisa and myself host and participate in. And I was sharing this morning in that call that it feels like I'm in a relationship. Like, I actually wake up now feeling the excitement of a new relationship, feeling that, and it's exactly the same emotion as when you're in love with another person. That's what I'm experiencing. It's this intimate, romantic, almost love towards somebody else, but there's nobody else in the room. It's just me, and I'm feeling it towards myself. And that feeling is quite intoxicating because it feels so true, and it feels so like, if anything, it feels that is in a way our default mode, and we just from birth get taken away from this default of pure love towards, of course, all others. But in order to love everything else, it really has to start within. If it doesn't start from within, then it can't last on the external. Like, we can still love a lot on the external, but it's a way kind of fleeting. It doesn't have that sustainability. But when you can do it internally first, I feel like that's the way it can become sustainable outwardly. And so anyway, it's a really interesting and honestly quite bizarre place to be in, where I don't know if I've actually experienced this type of self-love to this degree ever, maybe, or if I have, it was the last time it was like this was childhood, before it was taught out of me. So yeah, I weirdly feel like now when I wake up that I'm in a committed relationship, and then I remind myself that it's actually just me.
Well, all relationships start with ourselves. Every gift that we can give another person has, I think, it's a requirement to be able to give it to ourselves first in order to embody and view it into others. But Chris, we're not taught these things, right? I mean, on some level, oftentimes we're taught the opposite, where we need to love others before we love ourselves, and it's very selfish.
Exactly.
If there is this, talk of self-love, and I can tell you, listener, this too, because you are here listening to us. That's not the truth anymore. That is an old illusion, an old paradigm, and we are moving out of it.